General. From that, we will be taking you here now. The late Deputy Secretary General of the ruling party, Jessie Duarte, is expected to be laid to rest at the West Park Cemetery later this afternoon. SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga joins us live from the cemetery. Kenny, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We've had conversations on end throughout the course of the morning with analysts as well as colleagues and as well as other, ANC members as well coming on to pay tribute to the now late DSG. We see you are now at the West Park Cemetery. Talk to us about how are the preparations going there and who has arrived thus far.
Good afternoon to you, Mxolisi, and the viewers at home. Preparations are still currently underway here at the West Park Cemetery, where ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte, will be laid to rest. I just want to show you a bit of the scenes here at the cemetery. I'm going to ask my colleague Herbert to just move his camera slightly to the left to show you the burial site that has already been prepared for Duarte. As you know, this funeral will be conducted according to Muslim burial rites. She will be in the company of, that's the grave of Mr. Hugh Masagela. Behind that is Ahmed Katrada and several other ANC struggle veterans that have been buried here. We understand that that movement towards this West Park Cemetery will take place from about 1:30 Mxolisi. So we are waiting here, but in consultation with the Sheikh Mohammed, we have gotten a bit of an understanding as to what will take place today. As you can see, this is a Category 2 state funeral. At the back there where there's a white tent, you should be able to see that, Mxolisi. That is where the official service will be held, and President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the eulogy. Just to come back into frame, Mxolisi, we've spoken to Sheikh Mohammed, who explained that this will be a ceremony that is conducted according to Muslim burial rites. Islam requires that a lot of respect is given to the body of the deceased, hence why you see that although the announcement was made this morning, the funeral is already going to be taking place a few hours later. I'm joined here by the ANC's General Manager, Ms. Phoebe Potgieter, who's just joined us shortly here. Thank you so much for your time. Things are happening very quickly here. How are preparations? You expect everything to go smoothly today as we bury your DSG Ms. Jessie Duarte?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the death of Comrade DSG, even though she's been on health leave since November last year, has been a shock for all of us, because she's just been such a pillar of the ANC, of the women's movement. And so I think that the condolences have been pouring in from across the country, from across the world. In terms of preparations, because it's Muslim rites, the burial will take place today. And it's all systems go. The cortege will leave from the house at 1:30, and then the burial will proceed from the afternoon onwards.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first time we're getting a chance to speak to you. I just want to talk a bit about her contribution towards women's rights, her fights, her entire life for gender equality. Now she maintained that until her passing. How have you been impacted by that?
Well, she's. I mean, she always said that she got involved in the 1970s in the Black Consciousness movement, the youth and student movement, and by 1979 she was mentored by Mum Albertina Sisulu in the women's movement, and she then later by 1981 was elected onto the Federation of Transvaal Women as its secretary. And she played a role in the building of the women's movement of the 1980s, from the Natal Organization of Women to the Orange Free State Women's Organization, Border, Northern Transvaal, etc. And I think that commitment, a very deep commitment towards women's emancipation, she carried through even after she became, MEC for Safety and Security in Gauteng. She placed the issue of domestic violence on the agenda. She attended all of the Pride marches in Johannesburg as MEC, which was unheard of at the time. And I think that working with her over the last 10, 15 years, first when she was in Durko, but then later as as Deputy Secretary of the ANC, she always taken that position of mentoring people that's younger than her. And she just had such a breadth of skills, whether it's communication skills, whether it is policy skills. But she was also a committed cultural activist because she was one of the, having worked for Raven Press, she was one of the founder members of the Congress of South African Writers. And always very, we were looking this morning at the house at just her, the shelves and shelves of books. So in a sense, she was a very all-rounded person. At the time when she was at the height of her start of her activism in the 1970s and 80s, she had two small children that were just born 75 and 1977, and she somehow managed to balance all of those different roles.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We'll continue that conversation a bit later about the rich legacy of Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte, who will be laid to rest here at the official Category 2 funeral that is expected to proceed from about 1:30 when they make their way here. Over to you in studio, Mxolisi.
Okay, Kenny Mapanga there from the West Park Cemetery, of course, just telling us about the preparations that are currently underway there ahead of the burial of the now late ANC Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte.